Appreciate it. Some of you guys are sleeping in today. Well, I guess it's time to take another ride on the ghost train, huh? I want to talk to you about things, people, circumstances that influence us and how that might be detrimental to you as a trader, developing trader, a person in general, a parent, a loved one, a spouse, a significant other. All these things tie together. And I have a funny way of looking back in my own personal life, and maybe it's a guilty pleasure for you as well. It's kind of like if you looked at your life and someone made it into a movie, what soundtrack would it use? Certainly, there'd be some favorite songs of your own choosing that you would like to be implementing it as part of the soundtrack. If your life was a movie, maybe it'd be a sampling of some old classics, maybe some rock, maybe some jazz, maybe hip hop, maybe rap, heavy metal, grunge. If you were to ask me the same question, when my life began as inner circle trader, it was one with a lot of anxiety, a lot of hopes and dreams, but deep down inside, underneath the skin, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to do it. Leaving a broken relationship, which we won't touch anymore because I've done it enough. But I felt like I had something to prove. But I was in my feels when I started learning how to trade. I was really in my emotions. And if you were to ask me what would my soundtrack be? Because while I was 20 by age, and they like to say the coming of age or coming of where you move from adolescence to adulthood might happen a little bit younger than 20. I really started living when I was 20. It was scary for me. I was at the most alone I've ever been with the height of the majority of my friends were at the same time. You ever had that feeling? Where you know you have lots of friends. You have lots of friends that you've known forever, back to kindergarten, pre-K. But you still feel lonely, like you're alone, like you're in and of yourself an island and no one can reach you and you can't reach them. That's what it was like for me. And just to tap in as a segue into the previous message I was sharing with you last week, where I mentioned the young lady I was engaged to and met. Just want to mention her briefly, so that way it kind of makes a little bit of sense of what I'm referring to. Right before I met her, if you were to ask me, what's your favorite band? What's your favorite musician? What's your favorite songs? And over the years, you guys can see I have a very diverse palette for music. I like everything. I've always been a fan of music. It taps into the raw emotions of what you're going through right now and what you aspire to be and what you're afraid it's might come. And you're hoping that you can navigate around it. For me, it's Count Rose. If there was one album that I could play for the rest of my life every single day and never get tired of it, it's August and Everything After. That would be my soundtrack. Every song in that order. You're going to have a lot of innuendos if you've ever listened to that band or even know what that album's about. I have a I have a guilty pleasure of thinking to myself, somehow Adam was in some kind of a sync with me at that time, Adam, the lead singer, when he composed all those songs. Because if there was any album, any song, any songwriter that ever tapped into how I was feeling and what I was going through, that man did it. Every lyric in every one of those songs means something to me. I have a memory attached to every single one of them. And when I met Shannon, go and list those songs. And that's exactly what that whirlwind relationship, romance, engagement, the whole thing was just like that, in that order. And I felt like the Rain King when I was around her. I felt like I deserved a little more. I deserved to be in the service of the Queen. And I made it rain every week for her. And she was a critical facet to me healing. A lot of the crows, counting crows, don't want to get mixed up with the crows, which I like too. A lot of those songs were inspirational to me doing well as a trader. And when I would study, when I would look at charts, when I was doing the actual charting, like drawing the open, high, low, and close on my price charts, that CD would be playing on repeat. Just sometimes I would randomize the play, shuffle it, but that was the CD that played. And this morning, when I got up around 2:30, I was thinking to myself, I used to worry that I was missing life because I wasn't going out to the clubs and the bars and doing the things that my friends were doing, what my murder of crows was doing. If you don't understand the title, when you have more than one crow or a group of crows, they don't call it a flock, they call it a murder of crows. And online, you know, online gaming and whatnot, Call of Duty and Battlefield and all those types of things. My name was always Murder of Crows. So that had a huge impact on me. And if there was a montage and my life was a movie, there would be Counting Crows songs playing. And there I am, bent over the charts, drawing the open, high, low, and close, sweat on my brow, worrying about the outcome. Silly, I know. But that's the kind of stuff you have to do. You have to romanticize yourself and what you're going through to get through it. Men can really resonate with that. They may not be admitting it in the presence of other people, but deep down underneath the skin, they know what I just said is true for them too. And with Shannon, I had the opportunity to be free. I let that bird underneath my skin that was nesting come out and spread its wings. And I shared the things that I would draw and write and my passions and where my direction in life was really aiming for. And I felt like she was going to be a part of it. So therefore, it was like rocket fuel. So I had a very encouraging member of my murder of crows in her. But the rest of the murder were not so. And because it was so good being around her, it blinded me to the negative, toxic relationships I had in others around me who I loved. Genuinely, brotherly love. And some of them stabbed me in the back. And I thought about that this morning when I woke up. I was sitting in our morning room, looking at the glowing lights of the deer's eyeballs as they look over the cars that pass through. I'm thinking to myself, years ago, all my friends were hopefully trying to make it home about this time from the bars and the clubs. And I was up reading, studying, looking at lines on a graph, and praying that these things were going to lead me to a lifestyle that I wouldn't regret not doing those things with them. friends, listeners, this morning it hit me like a ton of bricks. I am so thankful that I didn't do those things. I don't have any regret not having done so. I don't have any regret for pruning all of the toxic relationships and friendships that were really not friendships. They were holding me back. I can be honest with you and tell you my high school best friend, Larry, who we're not friends with each other anymore. A lot of the things I did in my early trading career, I was trying to trade and make big money to impress him. It was stupid. It was dumb. You show him, hey man, look at this. I made $500 on corn. Corn? Yeah, it's $50 per cent. If it moves 10 cents, you need $500. I had one contract on. And to me, that was big money. That was more money than I was earning in a week at my job. He was like, man, that's pretty wild. Can you teach me how to do that? That's exactly what I wanted to hear. That's exactly what you want to hear when you tell your friends and family, look what I do. I made this. And you want them to say, wow, that was amazing. Can you teach me how to do that? I don't make enough money. If I had that, man, I could get that 5-liter GT Mustang. Because that's what he said back then. Until we sit down and we start looking at the charts, and then suddenly it requires a lot more thought, a lot more passion than simply saying, well, it seems like the lottery scratch offs. And if it works out consistently once in a while, I could pay my dream car's car payment. That was the extent of my friend's perspective on trading. And because I kept going and they were my friends, I drug them along. Now, some of them, honestly, if they were being honest with you today, especially the ones that we're no longer friends with, if you ask them, what's your opinion of Michael back then? Arrogant, conceited, self-centered, poser, like Alan. If you're a skater back in the late 80s, it comes to mind, doesn't it? Because I was trying to find myself. And I was living that montage moment every single day, trying to keep myself motivated because I had no motivation outside of that young lady that I met. So I started taking some inventory in friends and people that hung around me. And I started doing really well. And they were benefiting by being friends with me, associates more or less. And I started pruning them, stopped returning their phone calls, not returning their requests to hang out. Because when I would hang around them, I wouldn't feel good about myself. I felt like I was being used. And some of you right now might have that going on right now, and you're too afraid to prune it from your life because you don't want anybody to think that you're bad or you're not a good friend. When chances are you've probably been the better friend all along. You would probably bend over backwards to help the people that are around you that don't have any support structure for you, but you would gladly bend over backwards to do the same for them that you expect from them. The fact that you're pouring any amount of time and energy into improving yourself is a testimony that's really who you are. Some of you might say, I wouldn't do that. You would. If you have friends that you love, you would. But if the shoe's on the other foot, they wouldn't do the same for you. And unfortunately, I had friends, and I say that loosely, like that. And it became a deterrent to me doing well. It was influential in the sense that I wanted to do things just to rub their nose in it. Because some of them, albeit dating back to pre-K, I mean, it's before kindergarten, friends with them, and they would look at me cockeyed when I'd say, I'm going to make enough to buy a house cash in one trade. Now, saying that in 1993 didn't make any sense to anyone that I was raised as, remember, I came from a place that no longer exists, was referred to as Cardboard City, Villa Gardens. It literally was the lowest income housing, the cheapest building structure you could ever have. That's what ICT grew up in. So I tasted all of that poverty type stuff. I used to be on welfare. I had to go to the store and give food stamps to get milk and bread. And because I was raised on it, I wasn't embarrassed. I just figured that's how everything was. And as I grew up, my murder of crows, the part of the flock, the birds of a feather flock together, I was a little bit different. I was a little bit different. Slowly, I was the one that was the team captain everybody wanted to be on the side of. And I wasn't even good at sports, but I was influential. I would tell everybody when they had an idea, that's exactly what you should be doing right now. That's what I loved about Shannon because that's who I wanted to be as a person. I wanted to be an encourager because I wanted to be reciprocated with other people around me. And I wanted to be around a murder of crows with like minded goals, aspirations. Never have a limiting perspective. But I didn't have that in the murder of crows and friends I had growing up. I had doubters, I had lazy people, underachievers, dropouts from school, weed heads. And sad to say, a lot of them aren't even living anymore. Those that are have been married several different times, broken homes, in and out of jail several times. And you probably can relate. You know some people like that when you grew up with them. Now, not all of them are like that, mind you, but the majority of them are. And then ones that didn't do very well in life, they were the ones that doubted me most. And right now, you are in that August and everything after moment in your career. You're just now learning. You're just now tapping into, wow, this is an opportunity for me. I've never thought about doing this before. And you have other people around you that are basically your murder of crows. Like the expression is, birds of a feather flock together. And I didn't flock with them, they flocked with me. And as I gained more in financial stability, I could afford more things. My generosity allowed them to have the things that I was doing. When we went to the movies, I paid for everybody. Everything, drinks, popcorn, snacks, whatever. And after that, we went bowling, shooting pool, whatever we did, I paid for it. Now, in today's terms, it wasn't that much money. But back then, I was money bags. I was Rockefeller. And eventually I got to the point where I wanted to do that stuff because it made me feel better than them, because they made me feel less than I really was. And that's how a toxic relationship is balanced. Instead of letting go, you stay attached to it. And that has a detrimental effect on you as a trader because you're going to be thinking about external things as reasons to do something. Well, there really isn't a setup in the charts right now, but you know who I haven't really impressed in a long time? Kim. Yeah, Kim, I haven't seen her in about 7 years. But I just saw her on Facebook and a friend request suggestion came up. And I bet you that would be a wonderful icebreaker. If I said, hey girl, I ain't seen you in a while. Hope everything's good. But check this out. Look what I just did in high grade copper. What? Where are you? Where you been? And what are you talking to me about this for? It makes you do things and think things and act a way, and you really are uncharacteristically doing any other time because you're trying to win the affection or respect of people that don't have that same opinion of you. And with the invitation of being on social media, you feel that impulse more than ever. I'm going to show that person. I'm going to show ICT that I've been really studying. I can't wait to go out there every single day and show him and everybody that follows him what I'm doing. I'm a member of the Murder of Crows of ICT, the cult, the horde. And probably, I'm no escaping uh, this label. I could be very well be influencing you, not directly, but indirectly, because you feel the need that you have to live up to some expectation that I didn't place on you. And you're going to be doing things outside of your model. Or before you even establish the model you're going to follow, you're just going to dabble here and there and hopefully be able to share something. And they're all wrong because you're trading for an emotional response. And the worst thing that can happen is if you get it, then you're going to subconsciously think to yourself, well, this is success. This is how I define success because I did this because I was motivated to get a response, get stimuli from people on social media, ICT himself, or haters of ICT. And it becomes a quest to do everything backwards, but justifying it before it even happens and along the way, and then rewarding yourself if it happens and calling that the right process. And it's not. Who's in your murder of crows? Who among your friends and family that you've been tight with up until this very moment, who are the ones that you really wish you had the courage to say, I just don't want to be around them anymore, and I'm going to politely excuse myself from their presence? You know who they are. It might be one, for others, it might be many. But I can tell you, if you're a young man, this is something you want to really put some thought into. Because when you hang around certain people, again, like the expression says, birds of a feather, it means they're all there on a common idea. They flock together. I like ICT concepts, but I don't like ICT. Well, there's a faction of people out there like that. There's a faction out there that are meanies, like maniacs, like everything. They want to know what my kitchen drawers look like and how my utilities and my uh, house arranged and what's my circuit board and my everything for my house and what kind of interior do my cars have and what kind of underwear do I wear? And I'm not making things up. These are actual questions I get. Like that's fanatic. That's unhealthy. Now I get it. Don't get me wrong. In 1995, I thought to myself, I wonder what Larry Williams' house looks like inside. I wonder, does he have like common furniture like everybody else would go and get, or does he have elaborate sculptures and things like that? Yeah, I guess in a way, it's human nature to think that kind of stuff, but we can take it to an extreme. But who in your murder of crows needs to fly off and not come back? You got to prune that. If you're in relationships, they're friends, and they're saying, nah, man, come on, you can go back. You can look at that stuff anytime. Let's go to the club. Let's blow all of our money that we worked all week for, trying to get a score with somebody that you don't even know, or what they're carrying, or if they're even worth being with. I'm going to go so far as to say this, gentlemen, you're not finding your wife in the club. And ladies, you're not finding your husband in the club. But you are finding that right now moment that tells you you're worth something. They're attracted to me. Yeah, baby, look at me. Dressed to the nines. I am on it tonight. Look at me. Everybody's going to recognize me tonight. But when you're trying to become a trader, you got to stop thinking like that entirely. You got to put walls up. You got to guard your mind. You got to keep outward stimuli away from you. Only letting in the good. You got to filter constantly, especially today. I don't think personally. No, I know, absolutely. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think I would have been able to be who I am today if social media, as it is today, was like it is in 1992. Now, mind you, we had America Online, we had message boards, but sometimes you had to wait a whole day before somebody responded because everybody was in everybody else's message board. But right now, everyone has the power of the tongue by pressing some keys. And they can flatter you and tell you, you are amazing. Look at you. I want to be what you are right now. I wish I could obtain what you have. I wish I could trade just like you. I wish I could trade as long as you hold your trades. I wish I could get in and get out like you. Your precision is unrivaled. And that same person that can have such a glowing comment about one person can turn around and tear the other person's throat out by saying, you are worthless scum. And I can tell you honestly, I'm like Teflon now. There ain't a person out there that can say anything to me and I'm going to get upset about it because I've arrived. I've been here for a long time. And it's a sport for me. But I could never have done that in 1992, 93, and 94. I would have been destroyed by the least of my trolls today then. That's how fragile I was. I was frail, easily destroyed. I had no confidence. I had passion, I had drive. But my own friends, my murder of crows did not have any support structure for me. Think about who your murder of crows is on social media. Who do you hang around with? What influencers do you support? How do you behave around the other ones that is part of your clique, your flock, your murder of crows? Chances are, if you're honest, you probably think to yourself, you know what, I probably should have never said what I said. But I was just trying to get a rise out of one of my friends who said something about this person, and then they said it because you want to jump in and be a part of it too. Because hey, the flock's got to stick together, right? Birds of a feather. And I put it off as a young man longer than I should have because I thought I was being a bad person. I was being an ugly person. When in reality, I was being an ugly person because I was around them. They motivated me to behave a certain way that is not characteristic of me. And because it gave me a rise out of people that I wanted to impress outside of my murder of crows, I kept doing it. I was getting a reward stimuli for doing things that I shouldn't have been doing. Kind of like drug addiction, right? Never done drugs in my life. Never drank alcohol to the point of inebriation. And I say that one because I did allow wine to touch my tongue and I spit it out because it tasted like rear end. How anybody can drink that stuff, I don't know, man. But to each their own. All I know is while I didn't do drugs, I was doing dopamine. As a 20-year-old, 21-year-old, 22-year-old, 23-year-old, 24-year-old, 25-year-old, my life was all about getting the stimuli from other people. What could I do today, materialistically, to get a rise out of other people? And none of it was ever worth it. Everything I built up in my mind that, hey, this is going to really knock their socks off. Well, now I don't like this car. I only bought this car because everybody on the message board said this was the car that everybody needs to get. The ZR1. Nursery rhyme titled Counting Crows. And it says, one for sorrow. That's the first step in your development as a trader. You're sorrowful. You're not happy where you're at in life. You know you deserve more. You want more. You just don't have a direction to get into that frame of mind to get going. Because you don't want to waste time doing it wrong. But you end up wasting time worrying about doing it wrong. Instead of just starting, getting a baseline. That's the problem that everybody, when they first come to me, they want to know what's the perfect recipe going through your content. There really isn't. There isn't one. Because you need to have one specific, I guess, characteristic, which is the desire to begin. Just start somewhere. Pick one playlist. Everything I put out there is going to have something that's going to attach itself to your career if you stay in it long enough. But there isn't a perfect, this is where everybody should start. But we start in a position of sorrow. We don't have what we want. We don't have enough. We want to live a better life. We want to provide better for our family. Second verse in the nursery rhyme is two for joy. We try to trade and learn how to trade so that we can live a life of joy, afford to finer things, go to places we never would have other been able to ever visit, be happy because money, I can tell you right now, doesn't buy anybody happiness. It does bring with it a little bit of anxiety because you're always fearful of people out on the road driving in front of you, panic braking so you can rear end them. And I drive like an old man. Unless I'm in my vets by myself in kicks or Great White or Motley Crue. If they're playing, then I'm probably in a bad way. I'm probably gonna get myself in trouble. But otherwise, I drive like an old man. But I don't think that what you're going to go into trading, if you've just recently started, and if you're honest, you think back to why you first got into trading. This is what I'm going to do. This is why I'm doing it. This is my whole structure behind what makes me a future successful trader. I'm going to live like this way, and my ideals are going to be around this principle or these pillars. And the ones that have finally arrived at profitability, if they look back, they probably think to themselves, yeah, this isn't what I thought it was. And my perspective on what was motivational in the beginning, I don't hold those same views now because you're there. The third verse in that nursery rhyme is three for girls. I was trading with the pursuit of being worth wanting to be with because I would have more money. Because I came from a impoverished upbringing, broken household, no father figure in my life consistently. a murderous father, literally a murderous father, who should have never been recently let out of jail. Mother didn't want me. So I had the perfect comeback story foundation, don't I? I have it. And I lived it. I was sorrowful, broken spirited. I was always daydreaming of future success of this and that. I lived vicariously through movie characters. And a lot of the things in my presentations, I tap into my boyhood, that child inside me that no one should ever let grow up. And my perspectives are rooted in things that were going to make me better than what I was. In deference to the other part of my audience, the fourth verse is four for boys. So we're counting crows. You want to hang out with the boys. You want to impress them. Or ladies, you want the men to appreciate you because you can earn it on your own. I'm going to tell you something, ladies. And a lot of my female students have learned this the hard way. Successful women are intimidating to men because most men are lazy. Most men won't put in the effort that you are doing right now. And the ones that are making lots of money, you make men insecure. And I actually counsel my female students to never tell the men that they're dating what they earn. Sure, you can act like one of the old ladies on Facebook, part of the investment club. Yeah, we're part of an investment club. You tell it to a guy like that, they're like, oh yeah, good luck with that. I don't want to hear about it. It's not intimidating. It sounds like a bunch of old ladies sitting around cutting coupons and trading them off. I won't use this. What do you have? That's not intimidating to men. But tell them that you're making $100,000 a month and they're going to shrivel up and they're not going to want to be around you because they're going to feel insignificant. And it's sad, man. Men are like that. We're wired that way. Honestly, if I was transported back to being 20 years old and I was dating someone that was making crazy amounts of money like that, I would be highly insecure as a man. So, ladies, in my opinion, this is one thing that you don't have to be honest about. And I don't think this is a problem. If you never bring it up, you're not lying. Your finances are not everybody's business, even the person you sleep with. Now, your spouse, that changes it. But all of these factors, as we count through these crows, they're all influential. And the fifth verse in that Counting Crows nursery rhyme is five for silver. To me, I interpret that as, well, if I don't get everything I want out of life, this is what I hope I at least get. Like second place. If I get this, then at least I can say it was worth it. That's plan B. There's no plan B. If you go in thinking to yourself, well, this is the consolation prize, this is the participation award for me at least trying, you have already limited your perspective and your efforts are right now defined by this is all you're willing to accept. So are you really aiming for above and beyond that? No, because you've already fortified an acceptance of, well, this will be good enough. Sure, I didn't make enough to quit my job. Sure. I didn't make enough to make all my ends meet, but this is enough for the rest of my career. You're limiting yourself. That's what I was doing by hoping I could win back my ex-wife. Instead of saying, imagine how much more pleasurable life would be if you let go of that pain and move on and leave her to her decision. She's damaged goods now. You can't fix her. You tried everything. You can't fix her. And I don't want to spend a life trying to mend somebody else and never really live my own life. Some of you just heard that, and that in itself preaches. You're trying to hold somebody together, and you're not even living your own life. You're trying to hold a broken relationship together, and it's not meant to stay together. You're being shown the exit ramp, but you're saying, no, I'm a failure if I leave it. They'll be right in all the things they said about me if I leave this toxic relationship. Both sides, folks. Young men, young women, maybe even older folks. The 6 verses, 6 for gold. That's what you're aiming for. First place. Silver second. Nobody wants second. You always have the same view when you're second place. You get to see the backside of the guy in front. When I started trading, I didn't want to see the backside of anybody else. I immediately set my sights on who's the biggest one right now. That was Mr. Williams. And I signed it in my heart that I'm going to be the one that takes that away. And you will see it. I wanted to have a home, freedom, money, disposable money, silly money. And I wanted to never worry about price tags. I wanted to go wherever I wanted to go at the drop of a hat. Just like that. That was my goal. And I didn't want just one home. And I didn't want just one car. Because I grew up impoverished. You can tell, honestly, you can tell when people get money, how do they behave? What do they start buying? They fill in those gaps and those holes in their heart where they were hurt, where they were embarrassed. For me, I didn't have a car when all my friends growing up, they all had cars. I was the last guy. I was basically the scrub that TLC talks about in their song. I don't want no scrub hanging out the passenger side of their best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. That was me. And some of you think I'm the fly guy. Man, ICT must have been this. I was the last one in my murder of crows to get a car. That's who you're listening to. The guy that can tell you every single candlestick where it's going to go next and where to find the next million. But back then, you would have never recognized me. You never would have recognized me. But underneath the skin, I had a bird nesting, and it was ready to spread its wings. And my goal was to get to the gold standard of living. And by the grace of God, I have achieved that. You need to be setting your sights on something that, what is your gold level achievement? What's the highest degree of what are you trying to obtain in this career as trading? And it needs to be lofty. It needs to be high up. These are goals. They're not, well, I just want to get this low, easy hanging fruit objective of life. That's how you're trading to get consistently profitable. But in life, you got to be aiming high all the time. Don't plateau. Don't be happy with what you've just succeeded at just recently and say to yourself, well, I achieved that. Because if you stop growing and stop reaching, you're going to wither. You won't remain flexible. You won't remain strong. And if you feel like you've done everything in life, wow. Wow, what a terrible existence that would feel like. Where's the purpose in life then? I had opinion of me being way up here in affluence, and I couldn't reach it. I couldn't reach it until I changed my perspective. God, if you allow me, then I will do this. I will share, I will teach, I will provide, I will give. You want a prayer that gets answered easily? Take yourself out of what you're asking for and make somebody else the recipient of what you're praying for. God answers those prayers. Not, God, please, 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 God, let me make $100,000 payout. Please, God, I hope God uses ICT to teach me how to be a six-figure trader. I honestly believe, I mean this wholeheartedly, I don't believe God's in the business of answering ICT-laced prayers like that. Okay, I'm quite certain that He's not thrilled to hear my name come up that many times, number one. Two, you're making it about you. You're being a toxic member of your murder of crows, and you don't even realize it. You're being selfish, self-centered, which brings us to crow number 7. 7 for a secret, never to be told. For me, for the longest time, I hid the difficulty that I had to endure learning all this stuff. When my friends would say, man, look at this guy. He does this, this. Man, this guy just made $30,000 last week trading soybeans. And they were like, what is a soybean? I was like, yeah, that's right. That's right. I did that. I did that. Yo, wait till you see what I'm doing in lean hogs. Lean hogs. Yeah, man. I never admitted to my friends. They never heard me ever one time talk about the anxiety attacks. They never heard me talk about those sleepless nights of me literally crying tears why I was so frustrated where I couldn't get to a plateau beyond where I was stuck at. I never admitted those things because I felt back then as a 20-year-old, if I did, I would give them the blade while I laid my head on it. And some of them would have done it just because misery loves company. They would love nothing more to have been able to say, you know what? I'm jealous of you, Michael. I'm jealous of whoever you are, put your name in it. That's what most of your family members and friends really think of you. Look how toxic and ugly people are on social media. These people would never say half the thing, 1/10 of the things they say to other people online if they were standing right in front of them. I know absolutely 100% of everybody's ever said anything about me would never do that if I was standing in front of them. I'm a God-fearing man, but I would choke slam them right there, just like that. Put my boot right on their neck and ask them, do you really want me to let you up? Because that's how it really would go down. But you have a secret. And if you don't have one now, you're going to get one coming up as a trader. It's the things that you failed at most doing it. A secret that'll never be told. And guess what happens when you let that out? Guess what happens when you stop guarding that and hiding it inside yourself and just say, this is what I used to wrestle with. This is what used to hold me back. And I had empowered it for so long by keeping it inside of my heart, causing me regret, never being content with any measure of success and growth. You got to let that out. And where do you let it out at? You start by putting it in your journal. Your journal is your future self. You're having a conversation with your future self. And you got to put that down in written word, whether you type it electronically or you do the high touch over high tech like I do. I use a pen. But you have to record that because it's therapy. It'll allow you to release it, maybe altogether, not right away, but gradually you'll let it go. But you're going to be so thankful that you recognize that years later and you read that journal. And you think to yourself, you know what? I don't think that way anymore. I don't feel that way anymore. I don't feel defeated. I don't feel guarded all the time. Like someone could say the right words to me and cause me to crack and crumble right there because you've arrived and you stopped guarding something that's toxic. You're standing guard over something that's hurtful to you that you're holding on to, some limiting factor that you've embraced that you don't want anybody to know about. You hide that. And that's why people that have that, when they get money, they buy stuff. They're filling those voids. I grew up with a lot of men that came from the same type of background. And our basic neighborhood was divided. We had the white trash where I was from, and then we had Maple Crest, which was predominantly African American. And I had friends in both. I had friends from my childhood that was mad at me because I had black friends, and I had black friends who had friends that said they shouldn't be hanging with me. So I came from a neighborhood where they hang the Confederate flag, and that's the way it was. And that's not what I was. And I watched some of them. My real first friendship with a black friend was Alexander. This man today is a wonderful, upstanding person that literally hit every measure that I thought he would hit and well beyond. But if you heard him speak, close your eyes and heard him speak, you would never see color. You would never see race. You would hear, this young man is such a positive spirit, so encouraging. Everybody wanted to be on his team. Everybody wanted to hang out with him. And you know what? He didn't have much. He didn't come in with Jordans. He didn't come in with all the drip. It's how he carried himself. I wanted to be like Alexander. I wanted to be like him. And when breakdancing was coming up, and that came up when I was a kid, he's the one who taught me how to put the duct tape on my knees and spin on my hand and do all kinds of breakdancing stuff that right now would probably kill me if I tried to do it. We did all that stuff together. And breakdancing brought everybody together. There was no division of white, black, Asian this and Asian that. It's just everybody came together. Just like music brings everybody together. But I watched him start a small little business on the side. On the weekend, he didn't play sports and go into a travel team like that. He ran his own lawn care business. You know what he did with the money? He bought every pair of shoes that he loved. This guy had a room full of shoes, just shoes. And I asked him, I said, well, what do you need all these shoes for? He goes, well, you've seen what I wore when we were going to school. Sometimes they were beat up, they were dogged out. I said, yeah, I never paid that much attention to it because I was wearing beaters too. He goes, yeah, but I didn't want that. I looked at everybody else in school that had the nicer shoes, high top Nikes. I wanted that. I wanted that. And he cried. He said, now I can afford it. So I have more than I ever could dream. What was he doing? He's doing patchwork and filling holes in his heart. And that's exactly what people do today. You want to see someone's real side? You want to really know who they are and how long they've been hurting? watch how they spend their money. Cars, clothing, whatever the things that they hurt from. Like for me, that's why I owned more than one car because I didn't have one. I was the last one among my friends. All these things are characteristics of someone that has finally found a way to put patches over what they've been dealing with. That secret that's never to be told, those hurtful things. If you knew me, if you really knew me, this is what you would think about me if I shared that. And you think it's a weakness. It's human nature. Everyone has frailties. Everyone has shortcomings. Everyone has a time when they didn't do something or have access to something. I grew up in impoverished conditions, and I wanted to have nice things. But I learned as a 20-year-old by having nice things and flaunting it, everybody thinks you are Rick with a P in front of it. And I was, because I was guarding that secret never to be told. I didn't want them to understand how frail I was. Even when I was starting to make money, if my friends would have turned to me and said, listen, you take this money away and you're nothing, that would have destroyed me. I would have had no defense against that because I was using my newfound money making as a definition of I'm better than you when I was so far beneath them. They were stronger for being able to tolerate how arrogant I was. And some of you young men can't wait to be in that driver's seat, in that position in life. And you don't even realize what you're carrying right now is going to be detrimental to how you behave, how you're going to be perceived. And I'm thankful. I'm thankful I got humbled. And early on, I'm thankful, even it probably sounds crazy coming out of my mouth, right? But that's just me stirring the pot just to get people talking. But when I talk to you in the spaces like this, even last week too, they're truth. That's the real me. But again, I wouldn't be so comfortable to talk like this if we were in front of one another. Because I still carry those things, those memories, those driving, decision making thoughts, intrusive thoughts. All of that has a lasting impression on people. They cut deep, and those wounds don't entirely heal. And the way I keep myself humble is I share them. I share those things with you. Because, number one, you need to remember that I am human. I have frailties just like you. I put my pants on the same way you do. And it hasn't always been easy. When I do things and I teach something, I show something, and I execute in front of you, that seems easy now, but it was not easy all the time. And there was many a nights where I believed that I was never going to be able to do I could have never been told that I could do what I can do today back then. Even at the height of my anxiety, conquering power of I'm able to do everything now, where nothing could go wrong now. I felt like I knew everything back then. What I have right now, I didn't even dream was possible back then. And I'm thankful God humbled me in my 20s. He did it the right way. When back then I was praying that he would change the way he was doing it. And please just let me be successful. Please just let me do it right from the first time. I don't want to make any mistakes because my family says this about me. They don't believe I'm going to do it. And I believe what they're saying is true, and I need you to change my perspective. Well, you got to be careful how you ask God to be a part of your life. I have found when you ask God for courage, he gets you in positions where you're going to be scared a lot. Because how do you develop courage? By going through something and being being desensitized to it. Asking God, Lord, please give me patience. Oh, don't ask for that one. Don't ask for that one because He's going to let you have it. He's going to give you so many things pounding on you. Boom, 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 boom. You want to learn patience? Okay. I'm going to put you through it because there's no better way of learning something but by going through it. Ask God to give you the vision to see good. Ask God to give you the power, the skill, the characteristic as a human being to see good. And I'm confident what He's going to do is show you everything in yourself that's wrong. Because that's what He did with me. That's exactly what He did with me. And I was embarrassed, ashamed, how I acted, how I spoke, what I thought, how I conducted myself. And if you're not careful, young men, if you get the success that you're looking for and a meteoric rise, and you have affluence, and in this industry, you get notoriety pretty quick by what you earn. If you're not careful, everybody around you will change you, and you'll become something that you never imagined. And that doesn't mean it's good. My mid 20s, not too long after separating from the young lady I was giving attention to this week and last week, I stopped thinking about being part of a murder of crows, and I wanted to be a murder of one. That means I wasn't trying to be a bird of a feather who flocks together. I wanted to be an eagle. I wanted to be an eagle. They fly higher than a crow. They fly faster than a crow. And while crows are very, very adept to being intelligent, if you ever studied a crow's intelligence and problem solving skills, it's a fascinating thing. I love crows. I've always been fascinated with crows. Growing up in Maryland, everybody grows corn around here. And you see them all the time. They come outside your door, waking you up, crowing all the time. But I loved it. I love them. But I changed my perspective to like an eagle. And here's some funny facts about eagles. Did you know that an eagle can see a quarter, a 25-cent piece in American currency? If you flip it up in the air at one end of a football field and let it fall down, have an eagle at the other end of the football field, it can see that quarter. It has telescopic vision. Did you know that? That's amazing, isn't it? But they say there's no creator. Did you know that an eagle, when it finds a mate, the female eagle will get a twig, like a small branch. It'll fly up really, really, really high. It'll circle around and wait for the male eagle to go up to where it is. And it'll basically wait for the male eagle to grab the twig that's in the claws of the female. And then it stops flapping its wings and starts free falling. And it judges the male eagle on his ability to hold on to that twig until it gets so close to the ground before it lets go. The male eagles that let go too quickly for the female, well, that's her proof that he's not He's not the one for me. I'm not going to make babies and eaglets with this one. They're not committed enough. Now, why would an eagle do this ritual? Because in the nest, once the female eagle gives birth, if that small eaglet falls out of the nest, that female eagle has expectations on the male. You better go down there and fly and catch it before it hits the ground. And if it's going to give up before it should, that's not the right father. So she has high expectations. That's exactly what I saw in Shannon. She had high expectations, and I wanted to live up to that. See, she changed me. She was a dividing factor in my life and who I was becoming. But sadly, eagles, when they get to a certain age, or if they lose their mate, because they only have one mate for their entire life, once they mate with one eagle, they never do it again with another. They don't romp around and find, oh, all I got to do is find someone with a twig, hang out with them a little while, show them, a carnival ride, and then get me another one. That's not what they do. They only have one mate for one lifetime. That's it. That's principally oriented living, isn't it? Oh, Michael, you're talking about a bird. What's this got to do with anything? It has everything to do with how we should look at things. But when they lose their mate, they stop flying. And when they stop flying, they start walking on their claws, which they're not designed to do. And they stop using their beak, and their feathers don't hold up because they're not flying. And they go through a period called molting. And they start getting this calcium buildup on their beak, and their claws and their feet start deforming, and their feathers start to fall out. And most times when an eagle gets in that situation, they're either easily taken by a predator or they just die because they can't hunt anymore. And at that point, the eagle has to make a choice: accept its demise, or it has to do something that's very, very painful. It needs to beat its beak against a hard surface like a rock to beat the calcium off of it. It needs to start trying to fly again. And sometimes an eagle like that, other eagles that are still flying above, they notice it. And they go down and they encourage them. It's beautiful. There's documentaries out there that show it. It's a wonderful testimony of encouragement. And they fly over top of them, they drop fish to them so they can eat until they get their strength built up. They're not like hyenas who would cannibalize and just say, well, you're weak. We're just going to take you out. Eagle thinks differently. I'm not surprised why the Lord didn't use, that he used an eagle. We shall mount up like eagles. Why did he say crow or ostrich or buzzard? Because eagles are majestic. Eagles, the insignia of the Gospel of John. So I stopped trying to live like a crow who was crafty and smart and a good problem solver. I left a murder of crows, became a murder of one, just one. And then I changed my feather. I look at life differently today. I appreciate the adversities I had. The things that you're praying to get through right now, get to it quickly. You're going to be thankful for going through it later on. It doesn't feel like that right now. It does not feel like what you're going through is worth the trouble. I ask anybody that's finally arrived, that's doing what they thought that they could do and wanted to do, and they can make their ends meet and more. It's funny how they look back like a mother during childbirth. They're crying. This is uncomfortable. Oh, I can't wait to get this baby out of me. I watched it happen. I'm thankful God didn't make me a woman. I don't know. That's a lot. But as soon as that baby comes out and goes in their arms, they forget the pain. I've asked the mother of my children, like, aren't you afraid that we're getting ready to go through that process together of making a baby and you got to go through all that pain? She said, yeah, I'm not looking forward to it. But I never hear her complain about it after the baby was born. They don't think about it because the joy of the baby in their arms overshadows all that. That's exactly what it's going to be like when you arrive. That's exactly what it's going to feel like when you look back and you know what? I'm successful. It doesn't matter who didn't believe me before. It doesn't matter the pain that I put myself through. It doesn't matter all the adversities and the time limits that I placed on myself that had to keep being pushed out further and further. It doesn't matter. All that stuff, that was just growing pains. And I can look back, and you're going to be able to look back too and say, you know what? I made it bigger than it really was because it's just impatience. You want it to stop. You want the easy living. You want the easy success. And if it's easy success, it ain't worth doing. It ain't worth doing if it's easy. Would you be would you be satisfied? Would you feel successful if all I ever promised that you would earn is 100 to $200 a week? That's the best you could arrive at. And you got to that stage where, okay, yeah, he said I could do this, and now I'm doing it. Are you going to be satisfied with that? No, no. It's equivalent to me writing a book titled How to Avoid Losing Trades and Losing Market Conditions. Would you buy a book like that if it was sitting next to a book that said, all of my best models? I know what book you're going to buy, but you can't judge a book by its cover. All the things that you're going through right now, all of it, it may not be what you hoped for. It may not be how you imagined it was going to be. Maybe you thought it was going to be easier for you. Maybe you did really, really good in school or in sports and you thought it's going to translate easily for me. I dominated in high school sports and college sports. I was the MVP. I was the, you know, whatever. And then you discovered it's not what you thought. My uncle was just like that. Very, very academically smart. Book smart. Absolutely book smart. Failed on every occasion trying to be a trader. Except for one time, his first time trying to trade in the 80s, sugar. He made enough to buy a condominium down the Eastern Shore. For those who've been around for a long time, you know the story. I'm not going to rehash it. But never could find anything beyond that. And he resented me as his nephew because I figured it out. And he would never try to learn from me. He would make excuses and say, I'm a contrarian. If I tell him, look, this is what I've been doing for the last 30 trades, and this is how many times I did it right, and this is what I was doing. Try this, Uncle Stan. Okay. And then what's he do? He does the opposite. I'm looking for a long. I'm looking for a long in wheat, and he's trying to short it. What is he saying? I resent you. I want to prove you're wrong, and I'm right. And he told me in tears years later, sitting in my car that cost more than his house, crying tears to me, saying, I was jealous and I couldn't understand why I wanted to do this so badly and it happened easy for you. And I started crying back with him. And I said, you don't know All the nights I sat there and was quietly hiding my crying. Their bedroom was connected to my room with a closet. They could hear everything, but he couldn't hear me crying. I said, "You think it was easy for me?" And it wasn't. I'm thankful that he was being used by God to put these seeds in me as a young man. I didn't respect it, I didn't appreciate it, didn't even acknowledge it. But that was the hand of the Lord. And I told him, I said, "I don't know why you resisted me. I had every intentions of helping you. Like I would literally spend all my time helping you if you asked me. I'm basically doing it every day. I live in your house." He said, "When you moved in, the idea was for you to get on your feet and move out, not get rich." He was speaking from his heart. And I knew right then and there, I can't reach him. Jealousy, envy, and that's family. That's a man I looked up to as a father figure. And he had the power to encourage me to join college, to go in there and ace the preliminary tests and prerequisites and just ace everything. And to see him say his highest degree of aptitude was in math. And he said, "I don't even know the answers to those equations. How did you do that?" I said, "I don't know. I've always excelled in math and science." After sixth grade, when I got introduced to coding and trading. Not trading, but coding and making programs. It opened up my understanding because now finally I have something that engages me. Where prior to that, I sucked as a student. I'd be like me saying, "Okay, look, let's put ICT out there as quarterback or linebacker on the football team in school." I would have failed miserably. I would have failed miserably as a sports person. Couldn't do it. All of my grade school, records of aptitude sucked until sixth grade. And finally, I was engaged with something that I had an interest in. And like, it shot me up. It shot me up beyond the average student. And it changed my perspective and pursuits in life. And I could look back and see that transition period. And all of these transition periods you're going through right now as a developing trader, they're probably uncomfortable for you. You want to get through them faster and you want to slow yourself down. Learn from these periods because these are when the tests are being distributed to you. What have you learned thus far? If you haven't learned anything, you're going to stay in that period longer until you learn the lessons. If you're feeling hardship or adversities, you need to be thinking, "Hey, what am I supposed to be learning from this?" And when you dissect these periods in your time and in your growth, you're going to find that number one, the learning is far more enjoyable and pleasurable. And you're not going to have this impatience always smothering you because you're going to trust that I know I'm in a period of transition right now. I'm going through a growing pain. And I am welcoming that. That's the attitude you should have. You should want more of that because I had lots of them. And it supercharged my learning when I stopped trying to wrestle through that stuff. When I tried to pretend that it wasn't there, that it was some kind of punishment, some kind of aptitude measurement that showed I was never going to be able to do this, when I stopped classifying it as that and looking at it through the lens of this is actually me being molded and sculpted that by hands I can't see, and I submit myself to it. What lessons would you have me to know and learn from this? That's the spirit you should have when you journal, not vilify yourself or vilify the conditions that you're going through. When you have these things, that are impacting your growth and your development, and you're constantly doing a measurement and a baseline evaluation of growth and what you're learning from it by journaling, you're doing the best that you could ever do. You're documenting it. So that means you're going to have a means of being able to, number one, look back and see exactly when and how you changed. Because you're not going to remember everything. Think about all the trades that you've taken. Can you remember what the worst five of them were? What your entry price was? What was your position sizing? What was your stop loss? I know mine. I know mine. I know my five best trades. I know what my leverage was. I know what month contract I was trading, and I know how many contracts I was trading. And I know my entry price and my stop losses. They were meaningful things to me. I celebrated those a lot. A lot. And on American Line, I bragged about it. I bragged, baby. I was like, this is who I am. You have to know yourself like that. You got to know every detail. Don't hide away or shy away from, well, this is probably, going to be uncomfortable if someone else knew about this. No. You know what's more encouraging to me? You know what's more interesting to me? Listening to what people went through, what they went through to get to where they are today. Because we all look at the end result like, wow, look at the crown champion, the person that has arrived, that's made this much money, has traded this long without a losing trade, who has won this competition. We see those things like that and like, wow, man, that's amazing. And you want to aspire to be like that or better. And they're all commendable. They're well done. Yes. But as a mature person who has tasted success and has lived it, to me, the more interesting thing is what they went through. How did they handle that? How did they handle the tug of wars of back and forth? Sometimes not feeling like they're ever going to get it. That's that to me is more inspiring. That to me is more of a testimony than what you acquired or what level you obtained. Because if someone says, "Yeah, I made $1 million," and they blast it on the social media, every social media, they're blasting it. Wow, that's $1 million, and we all think to ourselves, "Man, if I could just have $1 million like that, I would be successful. I would be happy. I would be content." But what happens if the person comes out and says, "Well, I've been trying to do this for 20 years, and I've lost $250,000 trying all this time. And this is my first measure of success." Now, right away, there's going to be a lot of people come out and say, "Oh, this guy's a joker. See, he's a fraud. He's a clown. He can't really do it. He looking took him this long." And these are people that don't even have a winning trade ever, never even have a live account, and can't pass these prop firm challenges. But they're the ones that are opinionated. And I would love to see the backstory of what they went through, because that's what it's going to take for you. See, every book that's ever been written about trading should have a whole lot of the stuff I talk about. But I know the attention span of most of you is of a gnat. You don't have anything beyond a TikTok mentality. The older generation of my community has the capacity to think, and they can appreciate and go beyond the scope of a 5-minute video because they care about themselves enough to know, I want to know more. If you're willing to share more, I'm ready for it and I'm ready to receive it. But the present generation, They've been beaten into stupidity thinking that 5-minute training is sufficient enough. It's not. It's not. It's a commercial. And think about how it is when you're watching your favorite program. You want to get through the commercials, right? You pay for YouTube Premium to get around the ads when you're watching my videos. Don't talk to me about how you think you figured it all out and you know this is the better way of doing it. This is optimal learning, ICT. Your archaic way of teaching, these long-winded things. These are all the conversations that you're going to want to have with yourself when you're going through it all. You don't see it. You don't recognize any of that yet. See, that's proof that the people that talk like that in my comments, they're never going to arrive. They're never going to arrive. They're too critical about good medicine, about good information. I could be stingy. When I was 20, I wanted to be. I was never going to share anything of my best stuff. Never. And that changed real quick when he said, "Is that really what you're going to do?" And I couldn't do anything right. My heavens were like brass. Every prayer denied, every trade denied. Loss, 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 loss. Until I changed my perspective. And it wasn't about me. I said, use me as an instrument and allow me to point right back to you. And if you give me this, I will do that. And that's how I've lived my life. And you have to eventually get to the point where you're going to have to make a decision. Are you going to roll your sleeves up and say, you know what? I don't know how long the opposition and the adversities are going to come. I don't know what adversities are going to materialize in my development or my pursuit of this, but I am committing myself to no matter what it is, come hell or high water, I am absolutely dialed in. No one's going to say no to me and I am accepting it. Nope. You're not going to tell me I can't and I'm going to accept it. Nope. You're not going to tell me it ain't from me or ain't mine. Nope, it's mine. That's how it has to be. All you're doing is expecting a deferred payment that's coming to you. That success in the future, you own it. It's nothing short of what you do when you buy a magazine subscription. You pay for it in advance. You're paying for it, but you get it deferred, delivered later on. You ever think about it like that? I can't wait to get the summer edition of Sports Illustrated when they do the swimsuit edition. You know what I'm talking about, man. But you paid for it in the beginning of the year. So that way, that subscription comes to you at a later time. You got patience to wait for that, don't you? You spent good, hard-earned money for these subscriptions. You have cable TV, the equivalent thereof. You pay the bill for the next month's ability to watch the programs, the games. I got all access. Like now, you would think I'm a sports fan. I have every channel, every game that you could ever watch at my disposal, any time I want, and I never do it. I don't know why. I just whatever channel because I'm afraid if one of my friends do visit, they're like, "Hey, can we watch?" And I would be embarrassed if I couldn't pull it up. So that's why I've been for every year as an adult, I've paid for programming that I never watch. Am I hurting for it? Am I not able to make my bills because of that? Nope. But as a 20-year-old, that would make no sense to me. Some of you are thinking, well, why? That's a waste of money. No, it's not. It gives me peace of mind. It doesn't cost me anything. My programming in TV programming is a write-off for me. I don't care about what it costs me for that stuff because I use the information that comes through CNBC. I can write that off. It pipes into my office. I use it for information, so therefore it's a resource and tool. So I don't care what it costs me. Sure. I can watch that same access in my theater and watch John Wick blaze through a bunch of men with lots of fireworks and such. That's the perks of being a businessman. But you have to change the way you think about things right now. If you've been beating yourself up or saying, this isn't happening fast enough for me, this isn't working out for me like I hoped it would, you gotta remember, everybody that ever arrives doesn't do it overnight. And many of them have guarded that secret that's never to be told, which was the hardship it took for them to go through it. And that's why I have a great admiration, a great deal of respect for the people that come forward and say, you know what? It took longer than I thought. It was extremely hard for me to trust that what I was doing was going to pan out for me, but I stuck to it. That that is someone you listen to. That is someone you subscribe to. That's someone that has a voice that's worth listening to. Because anybody that comes out there and says they're the best and it was easy for them, it was nothing for me to do this. They are fabricated, they're liars, and they're probably mimicking someone else's successful. And I'm hoping that you and my audience could appreciate that it took you some real effort to get to it. That it was not easy. So that way, when you do arrive, it feels really good. And that's not arrogance. That's not pride. It's accomplishment. The Lord says that you're more than an overcomer. Does that mean that you shouldn't feel good when you overcome something? No, it means that you should expect that you're going to overcome it. Pursue it, chase it down, take it by force. Don't sit back quietly reserving yourself to whatever happens, I'm just going to accept it the way it comes to me. Wrong, wrong. Your perspective needs to be, I'm going after it, and it can't outrun me, and I will overtake it, and it is mine. Maybe this doesn't maybe this doesn't do it for you today. Maybe this is not what you're expecting. Maybe you wanted to hear Stone Cold ICT like last week. Maybe that's what you're hoping for. And that's for entertainment. That's to get the hooks in you. But once you hear, and I have your ear, this is how I talk to you. This is how I encourage you. Because this is what matters most. These are the lessons that are going to stick with you. Not the rants, not the raving, blue collar language, just to get you to pay attention to me, because sometimes you feel like we're not on the same wavelength. So when I talk to you in a common tongue, like I was raised around, oh, you're one of us, ICT. No, no, you're becoming one of me. That's it. We're done.